What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Tim Sports Talk. And today is another week of the weekly sports update. What is up, everybody? Jameson's in the chat already. Thanks for stopping on through. And we got a good show. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things going on. Of course, the NCAA tournament. Of course, the both men and women's. We're going to talk a little bit of NBA standings as we're heading into the playoffs. There's Peyton Manning wants his gifts back from Brady. That's a funny one. And then we'll get into some moves going on in NFL free agency. Who else is going to be on the move as far as trades, like Baker Mayfield or Jimmy G maybe? We got Tyreek Hill trade to cover that happened earlier last week. And what teams are going to be interested in a quarterback in the 2022 NFL Draft? As usual, those quarterbacks climb. We will talk about it. Make sure that everything is situated here. All right. What is up, everybody? All right, let's go ahead and hop into this. Of course, we're going to start with, though, before we get into what's going on in the sports world, we got to talk about the smack heard around the world. Everybody's talking about it. Will Smith, of course, defending his woman after a joke from Chris Rock at the Oscars. And it's pretty hysterical. That's why I use it, of course, in the thumbnail with the March Madness coming up. But was Will Smith in the right to smack Chris Rock at the Oscars, right? Now, answering that question to the only person that matters, honestly, in this situation, is Will Smith's wife. Does Will Smith's wife approve? I believe she does. A lot of women are very high on this move. I just asked my wife, would you want me to smack Chris Rock? And she says, of course I would want you to defend my honor. So apparently the ladies love this move. Honestly, I think it was kind of ridiculous because it was a joke, dude. And it was a G.I. Jane joke about her hair. She's suffering from alopecia, I believe is how you pronounce that word, where she has suffering from hair loss. But if you're going to go to the Oscars, right, sitting in the front row with your husband, who is most likely going to win, who ended up winning the award for winning the Oscar, I believe it was for the best picture of the Serena Williams and Venus Williams movie as their dad in the movie. But you're going to go there in the front row and expect to not get touched at all. A lot of roasts happen in the Oscars, and you go there with no wig on. It seems like you're moving forward with this, all right, I'm cool with no hair, right? You announced it 3 months ago. It wasn't like it was announced yesterday. And you actually announced that you were suffering from this disease all the way back in 2018, so 4 years ago. I think she was a little bit oversensitive, if I'm being honest. But Will Smith goes in, quote-unquote, defends her honor, all right? And Chris Rock handled it like a champ. If you haven't seen John Boy Media's breakdown on this, I think it's hilarious. But Chris Rock completely took it in stride, which goes to the theory, was it all framed? Did they all rig this thing? Was it actually all just a joke and to bring attention to the disease of Appalachia, if I'm going to pronounce that right? I never heard of this disease beforehand, so now I know more about it after this smack. So was this all staged? Because Chris Rock basically just took this thing with a smile on his face. But there was one moment when Will Smith started screaming at him after the smack. Will Smith sits back down, and he says, keep my wife's name out your mother effing mouth, right? And there was a point where Chris Rock was like, oh, I could, oh, I oughta, right? Like the old, what was it? The WB meme or whatever it was, or the, but yeah, you get the, who was that? Elmer Fudd? Oh, I oughta. Yeah. You kind of got that of, oh, I could, I think he said. And he recovered, gathered himself, and continued on with the show. What a professional at that point, right? Like, he did a great job on that front. I don't know what I would have done, all right? If somebody just came up and just smacked me across the face for a joke I made, in the Oscars, where roasting is common. Now, my wife did bring up the point of she's not winning the award, but you're sitting in the front row with your husband. Whenever I go to a comedy show, I do not sit in the front row on purpose, right? You are asking for trouble if you go to a comedy show and sit in the front row. You're asking for something to get made fun of, all right? Whatever it's going to be, something's going to happen where you're going to get made fun of if you sit in the front row. I try to sit in somewhere in the middle, like at least 10 rows back, nothing crazy, depending on the size of the thing. If it's a huge arena, then I'm way in the back. Like, I'm not trying to get made fun of. It's just not my style. So, alopecia. Thank you, Cherish Me. I should have done better on it, but alopecia. That's it. ALOPECIA. There you go. But yeah, Will Smith is a sword. But yes, we just had to touch on it. Of course, it's big news everywhere at the Oscars, and I don't watch the Oscars, and I'm not. Is a S word? Is an S word. I'm not familiar. What's up, Martin? But yeah, I just thought it was funny. Those are my thoughts, and there you go. Moving on to actual sports stuff, and we're going to hop into arguably the best Final Four of all time. And somehow that includes 2 seeds and an 8th seed, but it's the Blue Bloods of the Blue Bloods, all right? Coach K in his final year at Duke, he moves on, and they get to face UNC Tar Heels, their arch rival just down the road from them, for the first time in March Madness history. They have never faced in the NCAA tournament ever before. And they get to face now in the Final Four of who's going to go to the championship. And then on the other side, we have Kansas, who's been great for a long, long time. And then Villanova, who's come alive as of late, and probably in like the last 10, 15 years. I don't know about their long history, but definitely they're one of the top-notch teams in the last 10 years with Coach Wright. They've won 2 championships in 2016 and 2018. And let's go ahead and just break down the games on how we got there. So first up, we got the Blue Devils versus the Arkansas Razorbacks, the 4 seed versus the 2 seed. And Arkansas upset the number 1 overall seed Gonzaga, but in this game against Duke, they looked small. It was obvious that Duke was the bigger team, with Bankero being a 6'10". Mark Williams had a game of 12 points and 12 rebounds. He's a 7-footer. And then also you had Theo John coming in at 6'9". Really the only player they had at any size at all was Jalen Williams, Arkansas that is, at 6'10", 240 pounds, but he looked very thin when you compared him to the Mark Williams. Mark Williams was just clearly overpowered. He got 6 for 6 inside for 12 points. And then also AJ Griffin came alive this game, 7 for 9, 18 points as a starter. Bankero didn't play great, 4 for 11, but he still ended up with 16 points and 7 rebounds. He is their best player. He's had a little bit of a slow tournament this year. I think he's been averaging like 19 points a game during the season, and then he's had only like 12 or 11 points per game in this tournament. So a little bit of a slow tournament for Bankero, but they're still finding their way in the Final Four. But Arkansas did their best effort, but you can see here they were out-rebounded 34-25. Their shooting was okay, but Duke with 55% from the field, absolutely crushing it on the offensive side. And there's a lot of memes out there of just Duke just getting to the basket basically at will. And good for Arkansas for making it this far as a 4 seed, but Duke moves on into the next one. All right, next game. We got the Villanova Wildcats versus the Houston Cougars. And this was a game of nobody could score buckets, all right? Terrible shooting on both sides. Villanova comes out on top, but really it's because of 15 out of 15 free throws. From the field, they were 29%, 15 of 52, 24% from downtown, and they only end up with 50 points on the year. Meanwhile, the Cougars, their guards had the worst game at the worst moment. Taze-Moore, Edwards, and Sheed, these guys are the backbone of this team. They're 3 guards. They're super strong backcourt. And 4 for 13 for Sheed, only 9 points. Edwards, 1 for 12, 0 for 8 downtown, only ended up at 4 points. Taysmore, 6 for 21. He had the best game out of the two. He also had 10 rebounds, or out of the three, I should say. He also had 10 rebounds, but they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. 1 for 20 downtown between the entire team, and just those three, they combined for 1 for 18 from three. You can't win in March with that. That's just not going to be good enough in March. And then on top of that, they missed 5 free throws in a 6-point game. Tough break. But really the toughest break comes for the Villanova Wildcats. The Villanova Wildcats lose their second highest scorer, Justin Moore, to an Achilles injury, and he is gone from the tournament as they go ahead and face Kansas. That's a very big hit. They're still a solid team. Gillespie averages like 15, 16 points a game. Slater played really well. Samuels as well. They have a team that can still contend, but more. Giving them points as the 2 guard is going to be massive to replace. We'll see who they can do it with. They relied on Daniels 35 minutes in this game. He had 12 points off the bench. He's most likely going to be a starter, but he was only 4 for 16 in this game. Not very good if you're looking at the at the Wildcats. But they move on, and we're going to go into our next game, and it was North Carolina versus UCLA, the 8th seed versus the 4 seed. And North Carolina has had an incredible tournament, and it continues. They end up winning this game 73-66, and Caleb Love ended up... No, did they face the... Yeah, they faced the Bruins, right? Now I'm second-guessing myself. Did I pick the right game? I picked the wrong game. I'm an idiot. I was like, wait a minute. I'm second-guessing myself. Why did I pull this up? It was St. Peter's that they defeated. St. Peter's, the 15 seed. This was the one. And St. Peter's, 69-49, North Carolina just manhandled this team. And the Tar Heels are having a phenomenal tournament. I was right on that one. I started looking at the thing. I was like, what? But Armando Bacot, 20 points, 22 rebounds. Good night. And the Peacocks just had nobody that could compete, unfortunately, with the Tar Heels. And they couldn't hit anything either. 30% from the field, 25% from downtown. They only got to the free throw line 10 times, right? And they were averaging like 20 times to the free throw line in the last 3 games of the tournament. This game, they were not seeming to attack the basket. They weren't doing anything of normal. And it's funny too, because by the end of the game, of course, a 20-point blowout. They pulled out everybody, so we get so many extra guys coming in for 1 minute at the end of the game. But St. Peter's just didn't have enough, and nobody could hit anything. And Defo was trying his best, but he only ends up with 10 points. Drame had 12 points off the bench, and Edert was the really big deal. Edert has been a spark off the bench, an absolute spark for this team. He was only averaging about 8 points a game during the regular season. He's been averaging nearly 15 points a game in this tournament. And this game, he goes 0 for 5, 0 for 3 from downtown, only has 2 points off the bench. It's hard to win with that, right? It's hard to win when this guy is supposed to put up points for you and you just can't do anything. And they were trying. They were jacking up threes because they were down by like 27 or 28 points with 10 minutes to go. They were trying to shoot anything they could, and nothing was falling for this team. But meanwhile, North Carolina is winning in so many different ways, right? Brady Manick has been going off this tournament. Caleb Love had 14 today, but he had 30 points last time against UCLA. Bacot had the huge game this time, 22 rebounds, 20 points. RJ Davis struggled today, but he was massive in the upset over Baylor. He was just coming out firing. I think he went like 4 for 4 to start that game from downtown, and he ended up with like 26 points or whatever it was. So big day from RJ Davis there. So they're able to beat you in so many different ways, and they did it basically with just 5 guys. 39 minutes for Brady Manick, RJ Davis, and Caleb Love. They didn't come out the game until the final minute of the game. And that's going to be tough to beat Duke, honestly. Yeah, you want to have a little bit of a rotation. Puff Johnson only had 11 minutes in this game off the bench. But if they continue to have just an absolute raining from downtown, this game they didn't have great, but Brady Manick, 4 for 6. The guy reminds you of Larry Bird, does he not? A tall, lanky white dude with the hair, he has a full beard, but the stash like Larry Bird. And he just has the swag, the confidence. You gotta respect everything that Brady Manick is doing. And yeah, good for North Carolina. They make their way to the 8th seed. And I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. This might be the best 8th seed we've ever seen in the tournament. Like, their 28-9 record. They had the same record as some 4 and 5 seeds in this tournament. I think even one of the 3 seeds had the same record as them. And yet, they find themselves all the way down to the 8th seed, even though they crushed Duke just, I think, in the ACC tournament, actually. So, or maybe it was just before the NCAA tournament, or the ACC tournament. But, yeah, 69-49 over St. Peter's. This wasn't much of a competition, and good for St. Peter's for making it here, right? A lot of people were saying, oh, they celebrated too much after making it to the Elite Eight, and that's terrible coaching. You got to keep your guys' mindset right. St. Peter's is the first 15 seed to ever make it to the Elite Eight. You got to have fun, man. You got to celebrate that, right? You can't be upset at these guys for being super excited to upset the number 3 seed Purdue. They upset the number 2 seed Kentucky. They just beat down the Murray State, where Murray State was a 7 seed and had over 30 plus wins this season. They have found themselves at a 22 and a 12 record all the way into the Elite Eight. Celebrate it. I have no problems with the coach. Look, you're doing the best you can, and it's incredible that you're here. So good for St. Peter's. But the Cinderella story ends now. All right, the final game of the weekend. It is the Kansas Jayhawks over the Miami Hurricanes, and it's a 26-point blowout. Let me just make sure I'm picking the right game again. I believe this is the one that was at, yes, it is, because it was 35. Believe it or not, this game was 35-29 Hurricanes at halftime. 35-29 Hurricanes. And then the second half just absolutely explodes. And the Kansas Jayhawks basically used their depth to wear down this Miami Hurricane team. By the end of the game, McGusty, Wong, Moore, these are their 3 guards that play really well. By the end of the game, these guys were shooting threes, and they couldn't get it to the basket. Every single one of them basically was hitting the front of the rim. All of their legs were done. McGusty played 36 minutes. Wong played 34 minutes. And Kansas, even though Moore only played 26 minutes, Kansas kept putting the pressure. They were attacking the entire game. Very rarely did they slow it down to the half court. They were all over this Hurricanes team in the transition and making them play tough buckets all the way on the other end, like score with under 5 seconds left on the shot clock. And it ended up working in the long run because, yes, while the pace was definitely hurting the efficiency of Kansas in the first half, Hurricanes wore down in the end, and Kansas came out stronger by the end. They were only shooting around 40% from the field at halftime. They end the game at 50% from the field, 35% from 3. They couldn't hit a freaking free throw, though. This game could have been way worse if they knew how to make a free throw. 13 for 26 for a number 1 seed from the free throw line. The rest of the tournament, they've been shooting over 82% from the line. Now they're 50% from the free throw line. This would have been a massive story if it didn't end up being a 26-point blowout. But yeah, imagine if they just made like 20 out of the 26, which still is not super efficient, but it gets you much closer to that 80%, if not at 80%. And that's an extra 7 points. So now you're a 30-point blowout in this game. But yeah, it was just sad to watch the Hurricanes just completely fall apart. Like, as I said, they had a 6-point game, or 6-point lead coming out of halftime, and by 5 minutes in, they were already down by 10 or something like that. Kansas just came out firing, and it was tough. It was tough, but that is the Final Four. And is it better than the 2008 all one seeds, right? Kansas, Memphis, UCLA, and North Carolina. And now, of course, it's Duke, UNC, Kansas, and Villanova. So Kansas and UNC being the consistents, Duke and Villanova instead of Memphis and UCLA. You could kind of say Memphis was the Villanova 2008, where they didn't necessarily have a phenomenal history, but they were really good with John Calipari and just absolutely crushing it for a while with Derrick Rose and having some really good prospects and really good recruits. So Villanova is kind of like the Memphis, and I would say Villanova is better than Memphis, what Memphis was there, right? And then Duke's Duke, right? 42 years of Coach K. They have been absolutely phenomenal for 4 decades now, and even before that. But with 42 years of Coach K, this is clearly the best when it comes to all blue bloods. Literally, they're all blue teams as well. But Duke, UNC, Kansas, Villanova, we'll probably never see a better Final Four historically than this, unless UCLA brings it back. Like, if UCLA starts becoming an actual powerhouse again, then you could say it would be Duke, UNC, Kansas, and UCLA over Villanova. But that's pretty much the only way you can get this any better, right? Michigan State, they've had some good years, and they're a really good team, especially in the tournament. They've had a lot of Elite Eight appearances. But I still wouldn't put them in the conversation with these 4, or in this case, these 5 if you include UCLA. But yeah, I think that's the extent. Maybe Michigan. Michigan's really, really good as well. A couple of green teams maybe, but actually it's blue and yellow. Makes me think green with Michigan, but still. And then of green, Michigan State. But anyway, that is the Final Four for the men's side. And then if we just take a look here at the women's side. There it is. The women's side, just to report, they are having their final Elite 8 games tonight. It just started at 7 o'clock, I guess, with NC State and UConn. And then they have Louisville and Michigan. So all the 1 seeds alive. Both the 1 seeds made it to the Final Four. We'll see if Louisville and NC State can continue that. UConn, though, UConn's a very strong 2 seed. Everybody knows how good UConn's been over the years. We'll see if UConn can upset the NC State Wolfpack, but most likely it's going to be 4 1 seeds, and that's what you a lot of times predict in these women's brackets. But we did see a couple of fun upsets. We did see Creighton get it to the Sweet 16 as a 10 seed, Belmont defeating Oregon in the first round. So it's not like it's impossible to see upsets, Princeton over Kentucky, but most of the time you see the better seed move on in the tournament. All right, let's go ahead and check in with the chat. What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? So are we using Jamin Davis in a Micah Parsons role, or was Jarris saying we should? Jarris, whenever he posts one of those, he's usually talking about what we should do, not necessarily reporting what is going to happen, but he's still fun videos, and it's very thought-provoking videos. So if you haven't subscribed, you can go watch his videos. Please do. Yuki, what's up, Yuki? Yo, Tim, what's up? Check out Twitter post. Yeah, I will at the end. Well, I already have some of the stuff you reported for me. Appreciate it. But yeah, I will go ahead and check throughout that at the end. Let's go ahead and pull up Big Timmy for reading the chat for a minute. You smacked a comedian about a joke, but won't do anything about them. Yeah, well, I'm not going to read that out loud, but that is definitely a part of the whole thing, AJ. Definitely a part of that one. Fight for old DC in the house. Thank you for telling everybody to subscribe. James is back. What's up? Watching Avengers Endgame? I've never seen Avengers Endgame. Expert says, did you hear Darius Geis auditioned for a scouting combine? He's trying to make a return. I did not hear that, and I hope he does. You know, I heard the charges were dropped for him, but I hope he does. He's a really talented running back, and he had a bright future as a football player. Of course, some off-the-field things have ruined that for now. But yeah, I think he should. How old is Darius Geis? Darius Geis is not all that old. Darius Geis, he is 24 years old, so he still has a good 2-3 years. I know running backs don't last as long as others, but he could even have 5 more strong years in the league if somebody else wants to give him a chance. The problem with the running backs, though, is like no team needs a running back. Like, where are you going to go that needs a running back? Are you going to go to the Falcons, maybe have the worst running back situation? But pretty much everybody has running backs on their team that is a really good running back, right? Like, what do you need? I don't know. Like, you know what? I'm actually standing corrected. There is one team I think he could go to that'd be interesting, and that would be the Buffalo Bills. If the Buffalo Bills sign Darius Geis, that could be a phenomenal move, because I think Darius Geis can be what they were hoping Zach Moss was going to be. And I think that would be a much better prospect for them. And that would be good for Darius Geis. If he could end up in a Buffalo Bills uniform, that's huge. Bro, why he performed that slap with such delicate form. Wax on, wax off, DRG. Yeah, he did a great job with that slap. I think it was John Boy Media. If you haven't subscribed to John Boy Media, I don't know what you're doing. He's got like 1 million and something subscribers, and he's really funny. But yeah, he did a breakdown of the whole thing, and it was hysterical because he does breakdowns of baseball. His main sport is baseball, but he's also starting to like get into other things. He gets into like the Olympics or the sometimes NFL or NBA, like hot topics in other sports. He'll definitely talk about it. And this one, of course, he hopped on the Oscars of all things and does a beautiful breakdown of the whole thing. It's hilarious. But he was like, yeah, he had to have just learned this on a movie set, right? The perfect form. And you wonder if it's all staged. Who knows? So are we using Jamin Davis and Marcus Parson, or was role where was Jairus saying we should? I did answer this. I don't know if you left and came back. No worries, Martin. But we are not going to use. I don't think we're going to use Jamin Davis. Maybe you're looking for a prediction. Maybe that's what you were wanting from me. I'm going to say no. I think Jairus, you answer this. I left. Oh, okay. You did say I answer this. I left. Yeah, I did answer, but no. I think that. Of course, Jairus is not reporting anything. He's just saying what he believes should happen, but I don't think that's going to happen because we don't need edge rushers, right? And Micah Parsons became an edge rusher because they lost to Marcus Lawrence, and unless we have some serious injuries, I don't think that that's going to happen. I've been watching the women's tournament when women's isn't, and I got to admit it's not that bad. I don't think it's gonna be I never thought it was gonna be bad. It's just different, right? You don't see the high flying and the super athletics. It's much more fundamental basketball, which is fine. I mean, the Spurs were a team at one point, right? Then they were winning championships, and so I never would have thought that it would have been bad basketball to watch or uninteresting. It's just a different sport, and it's fine. Even though it's the same sport, it's just a different one. And they're extremely talented ladies. Some of them, like, it's not a college player, but Deladon or whatever for the WNBA, she averages like over 40-something% from downtown. Like, she's a tall lady. I think she's like 6'7", 6'8", or something like that. And she got handles. So some women are extremely, extremely talented basketball players. So I'm not surprised that it's not a bad sport to watch. I've been to women's games as well throughout my time, like going live. And yeah, I've never sat there and been like, oh my gosh, this is the most boring thing I've ever watched. I felt that more watching a baseball game than I did ever a WNBA game. What do you think the ceiling is next? What do you think our ceiling is next year that our schedule came out? Ceiling and floor and median? Ceiling, I guess, would be, I would imagine, about 12 games. And then I would say floor, the floor could be another 5-game season. A couple of injuries or things don't pan out and defense continues to regress and just stink it up. And then if you don't figure out the middle linebacker spot. But if I'm going to predict like an early prediction here, I think we should get 10 games. I think we should go 10-7. I think that's a really reasonable record with what our schedule looks like and what our team set up. I think we can go 10. But again, this show is not necessarily more of a Commanders or Redskins themed show. This is more general, but I love all the questions for sure. Men's is definitely better, but women's is okay, but better by a mile. I agree. Commanders are going 11-6. All right, on that note, let's hop in to the next topic here. So, I just wanted to touch on and just kind of show this one. The NBA standings. All right, let's just take a look here. We are only about 7-8 games away from the play-in games. So, when COVID hit, they decided to have these play-in games, and they're just keeping it, and I think it's kind of fun. So 10 teams now have a chance on each side to make it to the playoffs, and taking a look here at the rankings, the East, or I should say the West is much more top-heavy than the East, right? They have the best teams in the league, right? With Phoenix Suns at 61 wins, they're the odds-on favorite. Memphis Grizzlies has over 50 wins. Golden State Warriors is awesome at 48. So the top 3 teams all have better records than the number 1 team in the East, but the East is clearly deeper. The 10 seed is actually at a 500 record, 37-37 with the Atlanta Hawks, and the Brooklyn Nets are technically a 39-36 team, but they haven't had Kyrie for half their games, and Kyrie, good for Kyrie. Kyrie stuck to his guns, said, you know what, I ain't getting the jab, and I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, and you're going to make the decision of, do you actually want me to play or not? And as the playoffs come in, guess what? New York lowers the bar now, and he does not have to get vaccinated, so he's going to be back, and the Nets are going to be serious, but we'll get more into that in a second. But yeah, this is definitely a much deeper Eastern Conference. 3 teams have been eliminated, but the Wizards and Knicks are technically still having a chance, but I don't see either team coming back and taking Atlanta's spot, so I think this is pretty much set in stone of who is going to be in for the playoffs, but now it's a matter of seeding, because you can see here the 4th seed is only 1 game out of the 1st seed, and then the Bulls at 43, they're kind of eliminated from getting to the 1 seed, or maybe even to into the top 4, but they're still right in the mix. They could go all the way down to the 8th seed potentially in a wild slide. The Western Conference, and you can see I was talking about they're deeper. The Lakers are 31-43, 12 games below 500 going into the playoffs, and they're only 1 game ahead of San Antonio. So San Antonio potentially could make their way in to the playoffs. I find that hard to believe. I think LeBron's going to figure out a way to get into the playoffs, but it's going to be a tough road from there. The Pelicans, can the Pelicans get Zion Williamson back? Zion has not played all year. He never really recovered from foot surgery, and if the Pelicans can get Zion back, they could be dangerous to upset somebody. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But the Western Conference is definitely very, very top-heavy. If we look here at the odds to win the championship, the Phoenix Suns by a mile have the best odds at plus 320. Next up is the Brooklyn Nets. And as I said, Brooklyn Nets are in the play-in game right now at the 9 seed. But because they're getting Kyrie back, they have Kevin Durant, of course, and they have a good squad up and down, they're the 2nd highest. The Warriors at 650. The Bucks at 600, actually also tied with the Nets, even though they have a much better record. The Sixers at 800, the Heat at 1,000, Celtics at plus 1,200, Utah Jazz at plus 1,800, and plus 2,000 for the Grizzlies. Ja Morant, what a stud Ja Morant is. Do you think or is it spoiled here? Maybe not. But anyway, I wonder what spoiled things about if they should have taken Ja Morant over Zion Williamson. And then all other teams plus 2,500 or more. So we may do some streams for the NBA as they go into the playoffs, so look out for those. And of course, we're going to do streams for the NCAA next Saturday and Monday. So instead of doing this show on Monday night, we're probably going to end up I may move it to Tuesday. That's probably what I'm going to do. Probably going to move it to Tuesday because we're going to be streaming the championship game on this channel on Monday night. So this will probably be moved Tuesday next week. I believe that is April 5th, if I remember correctly. All right. Enough about the NBA. Let's hop into some NFL stuff. NFL news going on. And I thought this was a fun meme to get started on the NFL. Let me take a drink of water first. Peyton Manning wants his retirement gifts back from Tom Brady. Let's see what he has to say.
Feel right, so I want to write you a personal letter. It's really this long, statement. Mail it to him, send him a bottle of wine, and if he ever retires, I want the letter back.
I want the letter back.
All these nice things, I want it back. I want the bottle of wine back.
Peyton Manning saying he wants it back. And that's something that nobody really thinks about when you retire and unretire, when you make a drastic decision and you're like not a drastic, but a big decision like that, there's a lot of people that are sending you things for a big decision. Like, hey, retirement, like, here, congrats, here's this, like, congrats on one of the best careers of all time, if not the best career of all time. But with him coming back, all of those gifts have to be taken away, and now you basically get the benefit of it twice, which is hilarious, right? Kind of like Brett Favre when he retired like 7 times. Eventually, people are just going to be like, whatever, I don't care about your retirement. Screw you, you do you. So Tom Brady can't pull this off too many more times to stay in the good graces of his friends and family that sent congratulation texts. Like, if you do it 2, 3, 4 times, eventually people don't give a crap once you do it for real, right? But anyway, I thought that was a fun meme to get started. Let's see here. All right. The big news of the week, and it is a little bit old now. I believe it happened last Tuesday, if I remember correctly. Actually, it was, according to this, last Wednesday. But I did want to touch on it and give my thoughts. Tyreek Hill moving to the Dolphins. And the Chiefs get a haul of picks. They get 5 picks for Tyreek Hill. A 2022 first round, so this year's first round at pick number 29 overall. A pick number 50 as well, so 2 picks inside the top 50. That's pretty cool. And then they get a 4th round pick next year, a 4th round pick in 2023, and a 6th round pick in 2023. If I'm being honest, I'm saying the Chiefs won this trade. I think the Chiefs won this trade. Yes, Tyreek Hill is a phenomenal weapon. But the Dolphins had to pay him a pretty large contract, which we'll get into in a minute. But a pretty large contract went to Tyreek Hill, and now the Chiefs can easily replace, easily is maybe a little bit too strong of a word, but they have a strong possibility to replace Tyreek Hill in this draft with such a deep wide receiver class. You got Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson from Ohio State, Drake London, you got Treylon Burks, George Pickens, I think, would be a steal for them at pick number 29. It would be an awesome pick. The list can go on. Sky Moore, or there's so many really, Christian Watson maybe, if they want to go that direction. So many talented receivers in this draft, and you pick up a pick number 29 and pick number 50. You could replace him maybe even with both picks. Who knows? Because right now, Juju Smith-Schuster is your number 1 receiver. And then after that, I think it's kind of slim pickings. And maybe, what is it still McCole Hardman, I guess, is your number 2. So you're definitely going to go draft heavy, or a high receiver, at least one, in this draft. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, on the other hand, lost those picks. And then on top of that, are paying a monstrous $140 million contract over 5 years for Tyreek Hill. Now, it was claimed it was a $30 million a year extension for Tyreek Hill. While technically true, it ain't going to be a $30 million contract. Now, this year is 6.2. Next year is a $31.2 million cap hit, but then it drops back down to $25 million and then $28 million in 2025. But it's 2026. He's scheduled to be a $50 million contract. $50 million for a wide receiver. That's more than quarterbacks. I mean, that's an insane amount of money for a receiver. Well, yes, Tyreek Hill is a stud, but he'll be 32 years old making $50 million. No shot. And they could cut him to save $45 million. So, yeah, that $50 million reminds me of that Taysom Hill contract where he signed like $35 million a year, but none of it was guaranteed, and it was basically all fake money contract. It was ridiculous. But $50 million, good for Tyreek Hill. He got paid, man. He got a hefty sum of money to go to the Dolphins. He's now going to play with Tua, and the memes were flying, right? Tua going after Tyreek Hill, knowing darn well he can't throw that far, right? Just kidding. But no, Tua will be fine. He now has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, which is a tremendous duo. And some people say they have an argument that they have the best 4 receivers deep on their team with picking up Cedric Wilson and free agent. And for now, they still have Devontae Parker. Now, Devontae Parker might be on the move from the Dolphins, but hey, that's awesome. You got a young quarterback. You're trying to give him as many options as possible. And I believe they also got Dan Arnold. No, was it that the Jacksonville Jaguars who actually... No, they have Mike Gesicki. Excuse me. I was like, who's their tight end? Mike Gesicki, one of the top tight ends in the league right now. So he's got weapons galore. The running back spot's a little iffy with Myles Gaskins, but running back's a running back. Maybe they could go get Darius Geis. But Tua has like no excuses now. I think they beefed up the O-line a little bit. We'll see what else they can do to try to get that as best as possible. We'll see. But there was also rumors that the Miami Dolphins are trying to get a hold of Tom Brady. What? Imagine being the Dolphins and being the top choice with Brian Flores and Deshaun Watson, and you have a potential trade all out for him, and that's who you replace Tua with. But instead, you replace Tua with Tom Brady, who's 1 foot out the door, already retired once, right? But 1 foot out the door, and now you're just killing your young quarterback's confidence. I feel like this is just more rumors, more nonsense. Tom Brady ain't leaving the Bucs. He's going to stay on the Bucs another year, try to run it back. But if the Dolphins ended up with Tom Brady, I think that move would be insane. Yeah, they're basically saying Super Bowl or bust with a brand new head coach. I just don't see that happening. I think they're going to try to develop Tua. The front office loves Tua, and they're going to do their best to make sure he has the best career possible. Devontae Adams is better than MVS, period. Who is saying... Oh, did they hire or did they sign MVS? That was who their number 2 is. Thank you for correcting me. I couldn't remember who it was. But yeah, I think the Chiefs won this trade when it's all said and done. But we shall see. Next up, the big free agent that's still out there, and teams are going after this dude. Bobby Wagner, cut by the Seahawks, surprisingly, after a 170 tackle season. 3 of them tackle for loss. He also had a sack to go with it. Middle linebacker, Super Bowl MVP in 2014. It's like, everybody's like, why is this guy still out there? And it's apparently because everybody's trying to lowball this dude. The Rams apparently sent to offer, and now the Ravens are coming over top to come after Bobby Wagner. But Bobby Wagner is asking for $11 million for 1 year. And my question was at first, how in the world do you come up with that number? Like, who in the world comes up with the number $11 million? Like, yep, that's what I want. But looking into it further, did I get rid of... I did. I exited out. If Bobby Wagner were to make $11 million this year, that would tie him for 9th place. So basically what he's saying is, I want top 10 linebacker money. That's why he's $11 million. That would tie Zach Cunningham's average per year at $11 million. And so he's basically demanding, saying, hey, I just got 170 tackles. I'm a Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, I'm 31 years old, going to be 32 by the start of the season. But I'm still balling. And I'm going to be the quarterback of your defense. I'm going to be the leader on your team. You're going to not only get a great player, but you're getting a great leader in the locker room. You're going to have to pay me, dude. I'm not taking these team-friendly deals trying to sell out for a Super Bowl. I'm getting paid what I'm supposed to be getting paid, which is top 10. Arguably, he should be getting paid more than that, but he is 32 years old, going to be at the start of the year. But he's going to demand $11 million. We'll see if any team can convince him, but if the Rams, the Super Bowl champions, can't convince you to take a cheaper deal to run it back with us, who in the world is going to convince them to take a cheaper deal? Now, let's just take a look here at the team's salary caps, right? Who has the best chance of signing Bobby Wagner? A really interesting team would be the Browns. The Browns have $25.7 million in cap space, with Deshaun Watson sitting at only a $10 million cap hit. They have a big opportunity to say, we're going all in this season. They have the cap. They pretty much need linebacker. I mean, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah did pretty good. I can't remember the other linebackers. Maybe Expert, if he's in the chat, he can remind me. But I think that would be an awesome pick if they can manage to get Bobby Wagner on the team. Like, the Browns are absolutely stacked. I know the Broncos were trying to make a play, but the Broncos, I believe they don't have that much cap space, if I remember right. What are their numbers? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't even see the Broncos listed here. Oh, they have $16.1 million? They may be able to make it work. I know the Commanders want to make it work because they would love to have a guy in the middle of that great defense, but they only have $11 million. Maybe they could figure out a restructure of Carson Wentz on that deal, and man, he'd be behind a phenomenal defensive line. They have some good pieces in the secondary. Not great, but good. Young linebackers on either side of them with tremendous speed and tremendous physical abilities. They just need a quarterback in that room that's better than John Bostic, which is me, right? Anybody's better than John Bostic. But, yeah, but I think the Browns should really make a play here. And I'm surprised they haven't, considering where they are. The only thing I can see is maybe they're waiting to see the Deshaun Watson news. Is he going to be suspended from the NFL? And the longer that waits, the more that hurts the Browns trying to make decisions forward. Because basically they're saying, are we going all in this year or are we going all in next year? And it's up in the air. Nobody knows what's going to happen to Deshaun Watson still. Now, we know he's not going to get arrested, which is good, so he is going to play again. It's just a matter of how many games will he miss before he can play again for the Browns. But I like the Browns ending up with him. But right now, the front runners seem to be the Ravens, who are trying to make a hard play on him, and the Rams. And the Ravens are an interesting team, right? They had a down year because they had so many injuries. It was unbelievable the amount of injuries they had. They were on their 17th running back. Their offensive line was destroyed. Their defense had the secondary. Didn't they have 3 ACL tears in the secondary alone or something like that? It was ridiculous at how bad the injury bug hit the Ravens last year. So they had a down year. They're going to end up picking in the top 15, pick number 14 or 13. So good. If the Ravens can handle this, they're going to still have another good year. They have a good squad. They have Lamar, and they're going to try to maybe draft some wide receivers again. Maybe. I don't know. They've tried to hit wide receivers several times over the last few years. They can't seem to get it right. Rashad Bateman being the last one they drafted. He had injuries as well last year. If the Rams get him, I mean, chalk it up. Just give him the Super Bowl trophy now. Good night. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and now Bobby Wagner on that defense. That's just stupid money, right? That's just stupid. Unbelievable. And then Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp on the other side. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Just give the Super Bowl trophy immediately. And if they could get OBJ back or good. And they got Allen Robinson, right? They got Allen Robinson as well. Good night. Tim, for 2022 NFL MVP, 18 sacks, 142 tackles, 4 interceptions, 27 tackles for loss. Is that so? You don't know who it's going to be, but we'll see. Poor Bostic. Yeah, the poor Bostic for sure. All right. So we talked about the Browns, and we're going to transition into the Browns even more. And it's all about what is going to happen to Baker Mayfield. So, of course, a couple of weeks ago, they made the move for Deshaun Watson. What are they going to do with Baker? Now, they're really trying to find a trade partner. The problem is, who in the world are you going to trade with? The only team that really would be interested in trading for Baker Mayfield, unfortunately, is in their own division. Are you really going to trade the Steelers, a starting quarterback in the league, with that tremendous defense? They have weapons as well. They did lose Juju, but they have Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson. They got Pat Freiermuth. They got Najee Harris. Really, all the Steelers need to do is fix that offensive line and then just get something at quarterback that's not Ben Roethlisberger, who couldn't throw it 5 yards. And they could be right back in it. Like, this team is not a bad team top to bottom. It's just, unfortunately, they're not good at the best or the most important position that matters, and that's quarterback. So, but outside of that, who else is going to trade for him? Falcons have a top 10 pick. Seahawks have a top 10 pick. Carolina has a top 10 pick. Those teams are probably drafting a quarterback, and they're not interested in trading for a Baker Mayfield, where most likely you're going to have to cut him. But the problem with cutting him is it does nothing for you other than just get Baker Mayfield out of your face. It's an $19 million cap hit, but you save none of it. There's no savings. So the Cleveland Browns definitely put them in a predicament, but if they can somehow, I think it would be worth it to trade the quarterback inside their division. That's gnarly. That's nuts. Unheard of. Trading a starting quarterback in your division. But if you could get that money back and capital from your opponent, right? What if you get that first round pick for Baker from the Steelers, right? Or even a second round pick or a couple of picks, maybe not including a first, but maybe a couple of thirds like the Carson Wentz trade. You add capital, you get rid of $19 million in cap space. Now you could go hard. You don't really need safety, but go hard at freaking Tyrann Mathieu. Go hard at Bobby Wagner. You have cap space now all of a sudden at almost $45 million in cap space all of a sudden. You can make all the plays at all the big name free agents that are left, and all of a sudden you are basically guaranteed a Super Bowl as long as Deshaun Watson plays. If Deshaun Watson plays, it's going to be the Browns versus the Rams, right? It seems like that's inevitable, but I don't know. I don't know where's Baker Mayfield. What do you guys say? Where do you think that Baker Mayfield's going to end up? Falcons could get Baker. Do you think they're going to trade for him, though? Like, I don't think they're going to trade for him. I think they really want a rookie. They have a top 10 pick, and we're going to get into that here in a minute, but I don't think they're going to trade for that. Mayfield is probably going to stay in Cleveland if Watson gets suspended, so for now, they're waiting for the results. True. I agree. No, Tim, that's your stat line next year? Oh, my stat line. Oh, I'm replacing. Oh, because I said I was going to replace Bostic. That's funny. I feel like teams are waiting for him to be released. True. Yes. And that's smart. That's really smart. Because the trade market's dry. Like, as I said, who's trading and taking on even some of that contract for what? Bobby Wagner, Cleveland, that's nasty. I agree. You didn't see the bright orange color on the Broncos? I didn't. I completely missed that one for sure. Tim's got that bull rush. Raiders are my favorite look at their roster. Devontae Adams, Hunter, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs. They definitely have a lot of talent. Their offensive line needs to figure it out. They drafted Alex Leatherwood, but they were one of the most penalized teams in the entire league last year. Still somehow made it to the playoffs because the Chargers don't know what a field goal is. But they got to figure out the offensive line. I agree with everything you just said. So much talent at the weaponry, but you got to protect Derek Carr, right? And then defensively, they got some pieces, right? They have Jonathan Abrams. They have Max Crosby, who's tremendous. Carl Nassib can get after the quarterback. So they got some pieces on the defensive side. I think they still have Casey Hayward at corner. Who else do they have? I think they have Trayvon Moore, I really love at free safety. So they got some pieces on the defensive side as well. The Raiders are definitely an interesting team. It just depends on how far Derek Carr can take them, right? And Derek Carr, while being a very solid quarterback in the league, I think some people do overrate him. He doesn't have a tremendous amount of arm strength at the NFL level, but he is a smart quarterback. He can deliver the ball accurately. I don't know. It's going to be on the arm of Derek Carr. How far can they take him? And he has the weaponry. Like, he has no excuses this year, as you said. So so much weaponry right now for Derek Carr. It's going to be interesting. My bad, I didn't mean to spam. I thought I was pressing return. I don't know what you spammed, but I'm really mad at you now. Really, really mad. They released Carl Nassib? Really? Oh, okay, fair enough. They have Mad Max, and they did add Chandler Jones. I forgot about Chandler Jones. That's right. They did add. That's huge. That's massive. That's an upgrade over Carl Nassib, as long as Chandler Jones stays healthy. But Chandler Jones is a stud for defensive end. Interesting. Yeah, the Raiders are a really good team. They really are. Oh, I didn't switch to the thing over here, did I? But oh well. What am I going to do? What up, Redskins fan 10? How's it going? What's up, Just No? If he has a clean record, the Browns don't want them. That's funny. That is funny. So the Chiefs, I don't know. What up, Chavez? Eric Chavez in the house. What's up, everybody? All right. So the final topic of the evening that I wanted to talk about is who's going quarterback, right? Who is going quarterback in the 2022 NFL draft? And it's interesting. And of course, every single year, the quarterbacks start climbing up the boards. And as the dust settles of where all the quarterbacks went, right? Matt Ryan to the Colts, Russell Wilson to the Broncos, Green Bay keeps Aaron Rodgers, Carson Wentz to the Commanders, Jameis Winston back to the Saints, Tom Brady's back for the Buccaneers. As the dust settles for all of these free agents and trades moving around, it seems clear who is in the market for quarterbacks, right? But before we get into who's in the market, there's a team in the top 10 that doesn't seem to be in the market and are basically in denial of where they should be in the market. And that is the New York Giants. John Mara, the owner of the New York Giants, said this, quote, people are realizing it's by far the most important position in sports, and either you have one or you don't. We think we have one. And I don't know if there was a report true. I tried to look it up again, so it might be fake news. Mara apparently is telling his front office to try to extend Daniel Jones, which is absolutely insane. I think they should draft a quarterback, personally, but as a Skins fan, I am more than happy to, you know what? Go ahead. You don't want to go ahead. You don't want to draft a quarterback? By all means, do it. Don't draft a quarterback. Move on with your life and continue to try to rock with Daniel Jones. Now, the Giants do have a lot of talent on the team, but can they stay healthy? And they do have players that struggle to stay healthy. Kadarius Toney struggled to stay healthy. Kenny Golladay struggled to stay healthy. Saquon Barkley struggled to stay healthy. Even Daniel Jones has been banged up a little bit. The offensive line gets banged up. What are they going to do with Daniel Jones? I don't know, but it's hilarious. But I do think they're going to end up drafting another offensive lineman, and they're probably going to go maybe Kyle Hamilton or maybe one of the edge rushers that fall to them that have extreme talent. There's a lot of good talent at the top of this draft. So it's going to be interesting which teams go. But yeah, it seems like the New York Giants are off the table at quarterback. Now, let's start with the obvious. Atlanta, clearly in the market for quarterback. Right now, their starter is Marcus Mariota. They traded Matt Ryan for simply a third-round pick. They clearly have decided, you know what? No Calvin Ridley for this year. You got suspended. So we will definitely go full on into rebuild mode. They also let Elijah Alaquan, or whatever that linebacker's name, they let him walk. They weren't trying to sign him. Let's go into full rebuild mode. They're going to go quarterback, but they're at the 8th pick. Carolina is another team that obviously seems that they're definitely going to go to quarterback. They still have Sam Darnold. They were in talks for basically everybody. Could they have gone Russell Wilson? Could they have gone Deshaun Watson? Could they have gone Carson Wentz? Could they have gone Baker Mayfield still? And Baker Mayfield, since he's still out there and they haven't made a move, it seems like Carolina is settling in. You know what? We were 5-12. We got some pieces. Let's go get our quarterback. But we'll see who's available, because most people think that that's where the first quarterback's going off the board. I still think the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans are in play for a quarterback. The Detroit Lions are in a perfect spot. They have a perfect situation to draft Malik Willis. It would be brilliant. Jared Goff ain't the future, all right? He's barely the present, but he definitely ain't the future. I think the Detroit Lions draft Malik Willis, have him sit behind Jared Goff, who is a pretty smart individual in the locker room that can help teach the young quarterback to move forward, and basically say Malik Willis is going to be our 2 to 3 year project and come out and be a stud by year 2 or at least year 3, and they can then at that point move on from Jared Goff. I think the Detroit Lions take Malik Willis. Next up, I do think it's Carolina, and I think Carolina really has their eyes on Kenny Pickett, a very quarterback-ready, NFL quarterback-ready coming into the league, probably the most NFL-ready out of this entire draft class. He's not the most upside by any means, but he's very, very good. He's 6'3". He's got a solid arm. He's got tiny hands, though. Apparently, they got bigger for his pro day. Who knows? But I think the Carolina Panthers are also going to be a quarterback, and they're going to go Kenny Pickett. I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to go with their version of Drew Brees and take Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. I think a lot of people love Matt Corral, and Matt Corral, very accurate quarterback, especially in the medium to short game. Very, very accurate quarterback there. He's very, very intelligent, uses his eyes, uses his pump fakes. A very smart quarterback. Arguably the smartest quarterback in this draft, in my opinion. I really like a lot of things about Matt Corral. The problems, though, you have injuries, size. He's only about 6'1", maybe 6 foot or so. So not a very tall quarterback. But that's my point, is I think they're going to try to go with their version of Drew Brees, and they take Matt Corral. I think Seattle is going to go quarterback, right? And I think Seattle, they wanted Malik Willis. It didn't work out because Detroit stole it from him. And I think they're going to end up taking Sam Howell. I think they're going to take Sam Howell. Sam Howell is going to go to the Seattle Seahawks. I think that would be a really good matchup. He's got a super strong arm. He's got some mobility, and he actually has a little bit of Russell Wilson in him, right? He's got the mobility just like Russell Wilson. Not super top-end speed, but plenty of it. Solid arm. I like it. I think that would be a great replacement for the Seahawks. And then the next quarterback off the board, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers move up into the draft, hopefully to pick 11. I love that pick. I would love that. Just after Seattle takes the quarterback, now it's a matter of, do the Saints want to trade up or do the Steelers want to trade up? But I think the Steelers make their move up to the 11th spot and go get Desmond Ridder. And those are your top 5 quarterbacks off the board, in my opinion. And I don't think there's another one that's really in the conversation, right? I think that's your top 5. I don't think I'm missing anybody because you have, Carson Strong and Bailey Zappi after that. So that's where I think the quarterback's going to go. And I think when everybody was saying basically no quarterbacks in the top 10, a lot of times they were having Washington take the first quarterback off the board. By the end of it, I think there's going to be 5 quarterbacks in the top 11 picks, or at least in the top 15 picks, just like last year. 5 quarterbacks, because there's quarterback-needy teams, and the quarterbacks have potential upside. Yes, they're not as highly touted as last year's draft with Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones, but I think they have potential. They have good talent in this draft, and the quarterback-needy teams, they're going to go for it. And those are my predictions. I don't think Desmond is going top 10. I didn't think he's going top 10 either. I said he's going pick number 11. Listen to what I say, expert. Listen to what I say. Hearing Jets and Giants are interested in Ahmad Gardner. Ooh, I like both of those. Either one of those would be a smart move because he seems to be really, really good. There's no way 5 QBs go in the top 10. I said 5 QBs in the top 11. 5 QBs in the top 11. That's what I hear. Or not what I hear. That's what I think. Because quarterbacks are going to climb up the boards year in and year out, and I think that's what's going to happen. I do see Desmond to the Steelers. Yep, I think so too. I think so too. I just realized the website is called Takeathon. Yeah, I really like this website for the draft order. I think this one's a good one. But all right, that's the hour. That's the show. And we'll end it by just going ahead and going through. Like I said, this whole segment is thanks to Yuki. So big shout outs to Adam Scheffner. Oh, and also a big shout out to Spoiled for Who Dat Center. I thought that his video today talking about Traquan Smith signing was really, really good. I love his energy. I love his passion for his Saints. If you haven't already, go subscribe over to Spoiled's channel. He does a really, really good job over there, and I wanted to give him a shout out. I thought he did really well today. Mara's a stooge. Hey, did you get it from the Twitter post? I got a lot of things from the Twitter posts. So thank you for this. My newspaper, as he calls it. I did find it funny in your Twitter post. I was reading through, and the idea that Jimmy G and Trey Lance, there's no problems here, which of course is exactly what teams are trying to do. Yeah, John Lynch says 49ers won't cut Jimmy Garoppolo. That's just silly, right? That's just absolutely silly. A $27 million cap hit and you're refusing to cut him? That's and there's no trade value there. He's going for surgery. It ain't going to happen. It ain't happening. He ain't getting traded. You're going to cut him, and you're going to deal with it. Oh, can I explain the new OT rules? I'm going to be honest with you. I did not look into that, but that's a great one. Let's go ahead and look into it. I'm going to try to find it for you. Let's go with the Big Timmy section here. All right. I did hear that that's potentially going to happen. New OT rules, NFL. All right. Overtime rules of the NFL regular season. Overtime rules for the postseason games. All right, so are these brand new? In 2017, NFL owners shortening overtime in regular season to 10 minutes from 15. The rule change improvises. No. So this is what it currently is, I believe. Right? Let's go with the new. NFL coaches are divided on whether to change the NFL overtime rules. Right? So I'll start by saying this, okay? The controversy for the overtime rules is that they want to give both quarterbacks, since it is a quarterback-driven league, an opportunity to score. They wanted them to have the opportunity to have the ball. And it's happened a few times now in the last few years. Like you could think about, of course, last year, the 13-second game. Basically, the team that won the toss won the game, right? Both quarterbacks were super on fire with Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. Kansas City won the toss. Kansas City won the game. Then you could also think about a few years ago, which is, I think, one of the best playoff games of all time, and that was Tom Brady going against Pat Mahomes in the AFC Championship. Talk about a back-and-forth affair. It was very similar, honestly, to the Buffalo game. And what's so funny about that game is that, yes, you had two great quarterbacks in the game, arguably maybe by the end of it, two of the best quarterbacks of all time. But it was like 5 running back touchdowns to end that game. Like, it was ridiculous. It was weird to see. But similar to the Buffalo game, Patriots won the toss. They went all the way down, scored a touchdown. I believe it was Sony Michel or James White, one of the two. I think it was Sony Michel, scored the game-winning touchdown. Boom, they move on to the Super Bowl to then defeat, I believe that was the Rams Super Bowl, where they just manhandled them on defense. So, let's see what they're saying here as far as the NFL wanting to change. Securing 24 votes on Tuesday will be difficult. Pretty big hill to climb. The first time McKay said. Because detractors of this basically points to the very next game where it was Cincinnati versus Kansas City, went into overtime. Kansas City had the ball first. They end up not scoring. Bengals get it back, and they end up winning the game with a walk-off field goal, right? So it's tough. I just think that you should stop them, right? Now, you could do whatever you want. There's many different ways you could do the overtime rules, right? Let's see. Mike Vrabel's creative 2-point proposal to settle NFL overtime rules issues facing a goal line stand opinion. So apparently Mike Vrabel's putting up a 2-point similar to the college level. So the college also has a basically how college does it, which is interesting because there's so many different formats that work. It's basically, what do you want to do? There's so many cool and innovative ways you could do it. What do you want? What do you want? Right? So how college does it is each team's going to have a chance to score. They start at the 25-yard line of the opponent's 25-yard line, try to make it in, And if they do, the other team gets a chance to answer. Now, you could settle for a field goal, but that opens the door for the other team to score a touchdown and win the game. And then, of course, if you miss the field goal, they can win the game with a field goal. There's different stuff like that. I don't like the 25-yard rule per se for the NFL because kickers can make it easily. You could just line up and kick a field goal from the 25-yard line, and it's a 42-yarder, and it's basically game over, 43-yarder, game over right off the bat. So maybe you started at the 40-yard line, make them have to make at least one first down to get into quote-unquote field goal range. Because if it starts at the 40, you're looking at a 58-yard field goal from the get, and that's a really tough field goal. And so if you get 10 yards, then that makes sense at least, because then you can have a situation where you get, that'd be a 48-yard field goal, which is still not really a gimme at the NFL level. So there's different ways you could do it. But I don't know. That's easier said than done. Some teams are very offensive heavy and rely on their offense. Yeah, but all right. Here's what I would do. To eliminate the coin toss, okay? Basically, in my opinion, the overtime period should just be a continuation of what the game is already being played, right? Now, and it should be sudden death. Now, this doesn't help the quote-unquote each quarterback gets the chance to touch it in overtime. But what it does help is it eliminates the coin toss, because that's the big problem people have. People don't like the luck element of the overtime, of, who's going to win the toss? Now, what do I mean by making the overtime rule a continuation of the game? Basically, if you have the ball at the end when it hits zeros and it's tied, you get the ball to start overtime, right? Now, if you send it into overtime, you're just lucky to have more time, right? Like with the 13 seconds, the Chiefs tie the game and they send it into overtime. Cool. But because you sent it to overtime, the Bills get the ball first, just as if you did make a field goal to tie it before. And then you have sudden death. And you could still make it a touchdown as the end of the game if you wanted to. Like you could still say, yeah, in overtime, a touchdown wins it, but the other team still gets a chance to do it if you don't make the touchdown. And then this also doesn't rush a team in a tie game, right? So now with the clock's hitting 2 seconds, right, they don't need to call a timeout. They can just let it run to overtime, and then they get the ball to start the period and continue on from there, right? And it would actually create even some more strategy, right? So now it's a minute left. Now you don't want it to go into overtime, maybe as the Chiefs in this scenario, or the Buffalo Bills, I don't know. Let's say the game's tied. The other team has it at the 3rd down and 10 at their own 38. And there's a minute left. Maybe you use a timeout there, right? Where you wouldn't have previously, because you would all right, let's just get it into overtime. Or maybe there's 40 seconds left, and the other team could just let the clock run, but you say, you know what? No, I'm going to call timeout because I want the ball going into overtime. Like, it's interesting. What can you do there? I don't know. But I think that would be a really cool way to do overtime. And you eliminate the coin toss, and basically you say, you know what? Yep, you're the one who was losing. You send it to overtime, but you give the ball to the other team like normal. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it's an interesting way, and you get rid of the coin toss, because that's the big problem. People don't like the coin toss. But you got to end the game at some point, right? I mean, good night. Like, if you have Kansas City versus Josh Allen, or, Pat Mahomes versus Josh Allen in that game could have gone into 5 overtimes. And some people say, hey, you get paid. Play. Do it. But then you're risking injuries, and then the next game might not be as great. Maybe that's fun in the Super Bowl, but the next games might not be as interesting, because if Pat Mahomes gets exhausted, or the whole team gets exhausted, and then all of a sudden you have guys dropping like flies, like in a Quidditch game, it's not that exciting for the rest of the game. So you hurt. Yeah, this game becomes more exciting, but then the next week is not nearly as exciting because the team doesn't have as strong of a performance. So I don't know. There's many ways you can do it. But all right, we got over an hour. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, talking all sports, all NFL, and all around the league. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for being here. Let's see what the numbers were like. I'm just curious. We got up to 16 viewers at one point. Thanks, everybody. I know this is mainly for now, it's been a Redskins channel, so appreciate you guys coming on and stopping on through. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. Hit the like button if you haven't and subscribe. So appreciate you guys that watched and listened, and we'll be back. And until next time. See you!